everybody. Happy Thursday night. Wes Seiler here with Preserve Navarre Live, and Chaz Burger is in the building. Good
Nice
to see you, buddy.
You too.
I am so excited to have Chaz on. We just had, Bill was in the building a few minutes ago. He stopped by to say hi. He's the guy who does the song that you just listened to at the very beginning. I love listening to him cover Jimmy Buffett. He's amazing at that. So, and I think you and him might have some opportunities in the future coming up. So
Absolutely.
yeah, he's going to be fun. But I'm so glad to have you here, man. Given the perspective as a local business owner, as someone who just set up, looks like we've got some people that are logging on already. Let us know, though, because this is live, so we see all of your comments that come through. I'll put the first couple ones that have popped up on here so y'all can see that. So let us know. Make sure the sound is coming through. Make sure the stream is coming through, that you can see and hear us. We've got about an hour with Chaz, so questions that you have for him, questions that you have for me, anything you want us to talk about. And we're going to get into your business. We're going to get into your thoughts on the area, having moved here, someone like me who came from somewhere else and moved here. That's going to be fun. And then whatever comments we get, we'll bring those up as we go along. Sound fun?
Absolutely.
All right. So, I'm a little bit intimidated. I gotta admit, given your background and where you come from and what you've done, because this is my attempt to put on a somewhat professional show, and I'm learning as I go. So I've got some lights, and people that have been on know that we're getting better at this. We've got a long way to go, but yeah, let me know how I'm doing, and if you think there's ways to do this better, I'm open to it. But
absolutely,
yes. So this may not be the most like elite thing you've ever done, or like the best show you've ever done. But if you hear me, I think we're gonna get through it.
It's an awesome show.
Okay, all right, we're gonna have fun. So what allows us to do it though, is we got a few sponsors for the show. We started doing this in January, and we've picked up about 6 or 7 sponsors for this show already. And these folks donate so that we're able to do this in our part-time. One of those is Andy D's. Andy D's,
Nice.
The restaurant by Andy DeMartin that's over there on the beach. He's one of about 3 or 4 different restaurants that sponsor our show. I love that place. And I love what he's done. I don't know if you've been there recently. I know, actually, you came to one of our meetings with Preserve Navarre over there. I remember
did.
that. It's one of the first ones you came to.
He grew a mint just for me.
There you go, yeah. Andy, the best thing about his restaurant that he's doing now is they have events aimed at locals, right? Like, of course, you're going to get tourism and all that stuff, but he's got events that locals want every week. And then throughout the week, he's doing bingo, or he's doing, for the military folks, he's got, events for them. It's awesome what's going on at Andy D's. The big one coming up this weekend on Saturday is he's got the Navarre Beach Art, Beer, and Music Festival for 2024. Right. Doesn't that sound great? The big struggle that we've had this year is not having Tunes by the Dunes. There's been a few concerts and stuff that I've seen, but not having kind of the regular concert schedule. And so Andy, in addition to several of the other restaurants that are around, are doing their part, but Andy's in particular is doing this festival. This is what he's got. He's got a lineup of local bands that are going to be there all day, in the morning, and then going to the afternoon and evening. They're going to have that festival. You can grab a beer and all that stuff, listen to some live music, get some great food, and then what I'm excited about. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. And then he's also got stuff for the kids. He's got a kid zone that's set up there. So I'm excited about that.
That's
because,
gonna be cool.
yeah, like for me, if I take my wife over there, we'd have a great time, but we'd have to pay a babysitter and all that stuff. Instead, you throw a few bucks down, and your kids can go jump onto, the little inflatables and have fun. And then it's a party for them as well, right?
It's nice.
Again, that's Andy, right? Thinking about the entire family. He's got a wife and kids, the whole thing, so he knows. But yeah, taking care of us all. Isn't that great?
It's amazing.
That's awesome.
I love a great way to craft community.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely. Yeah. So we got a couple forward folks that have jumped in, a couple comments that have come in saying welcome to Santa Rosa. And I appreciate someone thinking it's a professional show. This is not my professional job. He's got the experience in this industry. He knows how to do this professional. I am an imitator, and I am just grateful to be hanging out with you, man. But that is the thing that we're going to talk about today. Is we're going to talk about what makes Navarre what it is, right? And we all love the beach, and it's beautiful. We talk about that a lot on this show. But it's the people. It's folks like Andy that is putting in this extra work and making sure that locals are taken care of, folks like yourself that are investing in this community. That's the local heroes that really make our culture what it is. And it's a huge part of a legacy that's been built up over time that a lot of people don't know, right? Like they don't know. They gravitate because of the beach. They come here because of the military, but then they may go someplace else or whatever. And some of them never discover just how rich our history is in terms of the people and the culture. One of those folks I wanted to mention and take a minute of the show just to talk about, because I know you knew him as well. You'd met him, I think, through our group. Was this man right here, Robert Burnett, who was just such an important person in my life. I love this man, Chaz. I love Robert because he was one of the first members in our group. He was one of the first people who really came along when we started our nonprofit and said, yeah, I think this is worth joining, and I think it's worth putting my time and my money in. This guy was on, we have a weekly call where we kind of get together our board and discuss what we're going to do over the next week and all that stuff. He was on that call every weekend for 3 years. For 3 years, he was at every meeting. He gave the most beautiful prayers, which I think you heard him pray at our last meeting. And he was someone who would tell you exactly what was on his mind and his heart. And what I love about our group in particular is we allow people to do that, and we talk through things. So he was very vocal in that. We didn't always agree, but we always got to a point of mutual respect and love for each other. And so he's more than just an associate. He was a friend. He was a deep friend. And it was unexpected for me, and I think for a lot of people, passed away Easter morning. And it just absolutely devastated that holiday, and I've been hurting ever since. I got to be honest, ever since that happened. It was tough.
But what an awesome day to be called.
I know. That's the other thing, is that he was a man of faith.
He
right?
was,
Not only just the prayers, but like he lived it in his life. He was passionate for his church, First Baptist in Navarre. He would always talk about that. He would talk about, the evidence of God in his life, and he lived it. I mean, I'm still hearing the stories of the things that he gave, especially to kids. He loved children. He had several kids of his own, and he loved them deeply, and he would constantly find ways to give money, to give his time, to support kids in need.
We were looking forward to seeing him Easter Sunday. You were directing a play there, and it was beautiful, and we were so excited about him coming, and then we were told that morning, before.
Yeah, he's not going to make it.
Really hard. But he made it in some way.
He's still he's still here,
us.
right? Yeah. I mean, you and I both, have a strong faith in God, and it's when you lean on that faith all the time, but particularly in a time like this where someone that you loved has been called. Absolutely. Been called early before we would have wanted for sure and expected. These are just some photos that we did and sent out, and I honestly we didn't touch anything with Preserve Navarre for it's been well over a week, and I just couldn't do it. I was like, out of respect for him, I was just like, all stop. And then I had that conversation with each one of our board members of, here's what happens, here's how I found out, and, and it was the first heard for each one of them. So we went through a lot of pain, a lot of calling each other, and just tough to get out of bed, and you were thinking about it the entire time. But he's in a better place.
Yeah, amen.
And he left a legacy for us to follow. But that's him. That's him praying with Chuck there at one of our meetings. He was our member of the year, our first year. Like I said, just a legitimizing force for me, someone who gave me confidence and strength. He was always in my corner. He was always looking out for me. And just he's one of those heroes, man. He's one of those heroes of Navarre. And I loved this. Numerous reasons I'm excited to have you on the show, but this is one of them, is that you were there, and I really appreciate you taking time over there at the Vine, where Dave and Aaron set up this beautiful display for Robert, and they had pictures of him. You can see those are some photos of him. That's where he used to sit. And this was I will always remember this. Like, this was an afternoon I'll never forget, because we got a chance just to sit there and talk, share stories. And
you did, and it was really humbling. And I think one of the, just on a side note, Wes, was like one of the things that I didn't get to share there, and I wanted to, but I feel like now's a good time as ever, is like, the thing about Robert is that there was something I was always taught in life, and it was really about what you leave behind you. And it's not what you take with you when you go, because, even Jimmy Buffett, it's all still sitting here, right, when he went.
We still got, we got Bill playing it,
right? And so, but it was really about leaving a godly legacy, and I can say that Robert left a godly legacy and a godly imprint in every single life that he touched. And I was just so blessed and humbled by that, and it's been an awesome journey here, but it's definitely was awesome to have him a part of my journey.
Yeah. And the things that the biggest thing about our group is we say preserve Navarre, right? Like, and what that means is that culture that I talk about, we feel like we need to make contributions to hold on to it. That's what it means.
Absolutely.
People are like, why do you call it preserve Navarre? It's because somebody like this, we don't want to forget. We want to keep his legacy alive. And that's what we were talking about doing this. So let's do this every year. Let's do this every year and remember him that way, as long as we possibly can. And let's figure out other ways. We've got some projects that we're working on in his name that I hope come to fruition very soon. Yeah, they'll be really great for us to be able to continue talking about them and have that name attached to the work that we do going forward, because that's what we're about, right?
Absolutely.
So that's wonderful. So so that's Robert. We'll talk about him pretty often. I'm going to put his photo up there as one of those local heroes.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to be holding on to that. But I want to talk about you. I love doing this. It's a great photo. I want to talk about you as well, because I love doing this. I love doing this. And I have to mention as well that Robert helped me kind of build this show up. And one of the things that he and I both agreed is the show needs to focus on the people, and we need to talk about their love for Navarre, right? Because that's what we're about. And so in his name and his legacy, we're going to keep on doing that as long as we're able to do this show. And we start at the beginning with folks. As early as they can remember, we look at, okay, what made you you? And what are the best memories that you carry with? So this is a great one. And I did not expect this from a publicist, right? Like, this was all, because my kids do karate. I've done some BJJ in my background. But that's an excellent kick. That's awesome.
There's not enough studio lighting to take the redness off my face right now. Thank you, Wes.
Yeah. So are we thinking more Miyagi-Do or like Cobra Kai? Which would you have joined? Are you more of the like vengeance, right? Like
let me date myself and say Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport.
Got it. There you go. That's awesome, man. That's great.
Yeah. I never thought I would actually achieve that. I was so young. My parents put me in, like, totally against my will. Like, I did not want to do karate. Right. Like, I was like, no, I'm more in the arts. I'm creative, obviously, right? And fast forward, it actually ended up becoming one of the best things that my family could have ever done for me. And I'm so grateful for it because it taught me perseverance. It taught me respect. Nice. And it just... it helped you to understand what bullying really is and what bullying really isn't, and how to be able to maintain that even when you are, being bullied. So it was awesome. But yeah, finally achieved first degree black belt by the time I was in the 6th grade.
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy or what?
Yeah.
And I'd won a lot of different championships and titles across the country.
Yeah. And
used to travel down here and all over Virginia and all over the West, Arkansas, Oklahoma.
Wow.
So it was really cool.
That's intense. Yep, both of my kids are in karate, so I love that, right? Like, and they're learning the coordination, the discipline, all of that stuff, like lifelong lessons, how to take care of yourself, how to defend yourself.
You carry it with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I was more of a basketball, football type of guy, but I did do some of this later on in life, so I'm still trying to cultivate some of those lessons.
Absolutely.
that I wish I learned younger, and I hope my kids get it. So that's great. But you've had success in, it looks like, everything that you've done. So and your background is very unique for most people here, because there's so many military folks like myself. There's a lot of people that like grew up in the South and stayed in the South. There's people that have never left, that have lived here their whole life. But the more I've learned about your history, it's very impressive. It's very unique. So can you explain these photos to us real quick?
Sure. Well, the one on the top, which I guess top left, not sure for every years, it should be top left. So I actually had led a project for a global consumer packaged goods company. Okay. And at this point, I was actually challenged to take 7 states and actually took the brand from about 16 million in revenue to 22 million in revenue in just a span of 8 to 9.5 months.
That's amazing. Wow.
But this was an opportunity where I went forward. I asked for a budget. They gave me the budget, right? Because everybody wants events. But this event was to really take 2 brands, bring 2 brands together. Okay. And then, of course, replicate it across the 7 major metropolitan cities across North America. And so this actually is what catapulted me to, my next role within that organization as I continued to elevate through the organization. Yeah. Ultimately holding, again, number 1 in sales and education from the teams that I led. And it was truly dynamic. It was humbling. I should have never been on this stage winning the awards. It should have been my team, because it's all about your team, right? Yep. And so, but I ultimately won this award, and was in Hawaii actually. So I was actually presented the award in Hawaii. So it's kind of crazy. It's like the Golden Globes, I guess, if you will, in the professional beauty arena. So it was really awesome.
And I think I got some photos here of you at work, right?
Here we go.
Yeah. So explain this to us, because again, very different, very very different than a lot of the folks that I've had come through with the show. I get military folks, guys who are really good at shooting guns. I get the people that have run marathons and everything else and all that stuff.
I can shoot a gun, though.
Okay, there we go. Good. All right, so we've got
just not a handgun.
But I could not shoot a camera the way that you do. I'll tell you that. So explain this to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So where you're seeing that lovely lady in the hat and a Claro Professional bottle. So I was charged to help come in again with this brand, one of the many brands. We housed a $7 billion powerhouse of brands.
Yeah.
And these 4 major brand titles were known, nationwide across the country and actually ultimately global. So a lot of the work that I contributed to ultimately ended up contributing to our global marketing team. So it was huge. And this particular event, again, I was asked to, hey, take a brand that had kind of been reinvented and had created a little bit of a chassis to the parent line, if you will, hair color line. And this particular brand, we actually ultimately put in what we call our polo or lifestyle. So what that means is, like, for the professional, it allowed the professional to continue to use a professional grade product.
Okay.
But we were also opening it up now to the consumer. So the consumer that wanted to take the next steps in, like, professional at-home hair color. And I don't mean box color, I meant professional hairdresser, like, at-home color. And so it was really awesome because we were able to help connect this through other brands that we owned in our Prestige division. And so in Prestige, great examples like Dolce & Gabbana, we owned that brand at the time. So I said, what a great way to cross-brand and connect. And then I went into Macy's. I went to the head of Macy's in New York and said, hey, I would really like to do this cross-brand event with our brands, bringing in an outside brand for a distributor who actually ultimately distributes to the professional and the consumer. So many of you know them as Sally Beauty Supply. And so it was great because...
Well, ask my wife that, so she probably does, yeah.
What's Sally Beauty?
Yeah.
But it was great. And so this brand actually ultimately launched. So cast, directed, got everyone together. And then we shot this at the time when I first started with the organization. Actually lived in Indian Rocks Beach in Florida, so just right below Clearwater. And we actually shot this on the beach. It was really awesome. And a lot of hair, a lot of sun, a lot of salt, a lot of wind.
Yeah.
But ultimately ended up becoming, a hit. And this was actually replicated all across the country.
Wow.
And then, of course, continued to help me elevate in my career. That was not the goal at the time. That was not at all. I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about the brands that I represent and really helping to craft and connect community. So this really helped me do that with my audience. So know your audience, right?
Nancy says, the talent we have in Navarre is amazing. We're very privileged to have such talent here. And I was about to say that exact same thing because I've had several folks on the show who are like national level talent, right? Never in this industry, which is amazing. But it is so incredible to hear the stories of like just the upper echelons of different industries that people have, worked their way into. Like
absolutely.
So, you talked about team, right? And that's something that spans anything. Like as a military guy, I could tell you it is 100%. It's all about the team. Your leadership is only as good as your team behind you, right? So are these members of your team in the other photo? Or
believe it or not, so in this back photo, this was actually one of the events ultimately that we did in Macy's. So this was the cross-branded event. We did it in Macy's, and my mom actually happened to be a model.
Yeah.
And so she's on the far left, the blonde and the pink dress and the cowgirl boots and all that. So it was cool. And we actually, this particular one, I believe, was in Atlanta. And then the 2 individuals that you see there actually were fans, if you will, and they were asking for,
that's great.
A photo op, and so we were like, absolutely. But it was great, and it was a really great opportunity. They were, really excited. They were excited about this new brand. They were excited about taking the next steps at home and doing it professionally, for themselves, and then being able to open up a package and actually have directions and can watch a video.
Yeah, incredible what you've done. But then we get to here. So then there's there's Chaz at the national level, the trendsetter, putting the brands together, like teaching people how to do all the things that you do, all of that. and then I met you, right? Like, so how do you get to a place from doing all of that to finding yourself in Northwest Florida, particularly in Navarre?
So, ironically, when I first held this market, I actually had visited this area
Yeah.
and had worked with one of the salons that I'm thinking about was in Gulf Breeze, and
Yeah.
they were back then it was 2012. They were really working through and struggling, and so today they're still there. They're still in business. So congratulations to them for for holding tight and,
Yeah.
and going through. But um, it, you know fast forward through career and family and COVID changed the world, and I think we all know that. My brother, who is military, so I have a high respect for our military, our men and women of
Yeah.
service. I never had that opportunity, but my brother did, and I'm very grateful and humbly grateful for him and his wife. So they're retired Air Force,
Okay.
disabled veterans, but small children, and I have two nephews, and they're amazing, Liam and Max.
Yeah.
So go Liam and Max. But they're in baseball practice tonight. But so ultimately, my brother and I, we had chatted, and his wife, and just decided, my parents really wanted to be close to family and watch their grandchildren grow up. And so fast forward, that gave me an opportunity after COVID with, to come back from LA and really help my parents kind of get reacclimated. They were getting a house, their home was being built here actually. So we kind of had to wait for the home to finish. And so that gave me an opportunity to kind of come into Navarre a little prematurely. And so I was really happy for that because, it gave me an idea kind of the lay of the land. Things had changed since 2012.
Yeah.
Things had grown. It had moved up a lot. And then
Really
to be in the area of Navarre that we are, it is a really nice area, and it truly is Florida's best kept secret. It's an awesome beach, and I hope that we can continue to keep it that way. But that's what ultimately brought me here, and then was in a venture. Had the opportunity last year to go into a venture in partnership with another owner, and so in doing that our local business at the time in Navarre, we were challenged with a lot of barriers. One of the barriers being we had a really big hazard, as you know, in behind the building in the shopping center. And
this was great. Yeah, I really enjoyed it because one of the things that that you helped me do just first meeting was figuring out how to add some more charity options and service projects, because that's always been a part of our group from the beginning, right? But looking at ways where we can do some projects that we're actually capable of achieving and finishing off, right? That doesn't require professional and tons of money. And you gave us one of those, and that was an awesome first meeting, right? Because I didn't know anything about your background or all the things that you'd done. I was just like,
one of your members frequented our establishment.
Oh, that's right.
And that's how she kind of like got us engaged.
I remember that
and
now.
It was funny because I did want to say, thank you too, because to you guys for this, because I had worked many different avenues, and somebody who had been very pivotal in helping us get there was, Sheriff Johnson. Sheriff Johnson and his team. He was awesome, and he stepped up and he says, let's send someone out maybe on one of our other developments that can help look at this. And then when Amanda came in and chatted with us, and so it all came cohesively together, I met you, and then you guys were like, hey, we'll come out and do this community project and like remove this for you. And what business couldn't ask for something better, and what community couldn't ask for something better?
Because that's what it's about. Like, so you talk about the national level skill set that you have and the things that you've done. What I've seen is that the challenge that a lot of people have of how do you communicate that value to the local level, right? To people in Navarre. And that for me, because I've done a lot of the same, similar stuff in my profession. I've worked at the national level and numerous different ventures. But I've discovered that what matters for people at the local level is what you can actually see, right?
Yeah.
The benefit in their life. And that's where, not knowing all that stuff that you had done, I just say, hey, this is how I treat everybody. What can I do for you? And it could be as simple as like, hey, we're going to take down a fence. Could be something else that they need. But let's start and communicate value to people at the local level. So as we kind of get into what you're doing now, I'm interested to hear that, because I've had friends who've worked in the White House and they've done this, that, and the other, and I'm like, that's awesome. But you tell that to people in Navarre, and they'll be like, okay, cool, right? And they're going to go about their business. They're looking at, hey, what matters to me today, right? How do I actually get from point A to point B in my life, right? That's a huge challenge for people that have traveled all over the world, is how do we fit in here? But that's why I'm so excited, because It sounds like you're on the verge of that with what you're doing now, right?
Absolutely.
Because I'm thinking about local businesses and then publicity. Like most of the local businesses that I talk to, it's like just a mom and pop shop, right? It's just a handful of people. Maybe they have a staff, maybe they don't, but publicists are few and far between. And they're like, hey, I'm having to do my own Facebook ads, or I'm having to do my own emails, or most of them are designing their own logos, just whatever they can figure out, far and away from a professional who knows how to do this as well as
Absolutely.
everything else that you've done. So talk to me about this, because this is relatively new, if I understand. Divergent spectrum. What does that mean? What's the business plan for this?
Yes, so we are first and foremost, we're a promotional relations and consumer engagement company. And so that's huge for us. And what does that really mean? And I think kind of goes back to the name. So obviously I come from Hollywood. And so there is a tie there, which I will leave it at that. So I'll keep people guessing. Love that. But the reason being is because when we look at this, we have 5 different pillars within kind of the way that our governance is set up within our organization. So divergentspectrum.com, and you can see those under our services page. It talks a little bit more about those. But I was one of those, Wes, that I never quite fit in a box or a category. I could adapt to each box and category. But most people today, it's like, hey, I want to be an airplane pilot. So they go into being an airplane pilot, right? Or I want to go into law and I'm going to become a lawyer, and you're focused in that. And I had very humbly, I say, I've had an opportunity to have many gifts and talents. And I wanted to be able to use those gifts and talents to really help, I would say, give back to the local community, in whatever community it is I reside, to help local businesses thrive. And so I was one of those, and I think Michelle Armendariz actually said it best. She was one that I was in a partnership with and worked with, and she was amazing. And she said, Chaz, I see the wheels, I see you going, but she goes, and I just trust the process, because you get us there. I may not always understand, but you get the process there. And I think to kind of cannibalize on that a little bit for a quick second is just to say that with Divergent Spectrum, our goal is to really help local businesses connect and craft community. And they have to understand, what their vision is. They have to be able to hone in. And I think a lot of that comes to, we have businesses today that's been here, 15, 20 years,
right?
But then they don't understand maybe why things are tapering off. And then you hear, well, we're in the off season, or, it's that. And this is, but it's not. It's really understanding your customer. So there is something called customer segmentation, and we do help facilitate that and foster that. But it's also about being able to identify. So we have a lot of affiliate partners. They're not all listed on our website, but those affiliates, one in particular, we work with a very big media company here in Pensacola, actually, and they expand all the way out to Navarre, all the way through the Panhandle. And they were able to take, a previous venture, and I came to them and said, listen, I do a lot of go-to-market strategy, and we do a lot of MS&P, marketing strategy and planning. Well, every business needs that. But not every business has that. And I said, I was given a budget, and it was a very small budget. And I said, I need a commercial. And I come, respectfully, I come from that world, so I'm going to produce and direct it. And if you guys are not okay with that, I'll go get my own film crew. And they were like, absolutely not. We'll give you the film crew complimentary. And then on top of that, we'll take those dollars and we'll help allocate those dollars to commercial programmatics, the programmatics of the time slots, right, for that commercial, but also with digital, as well as integration into, print, where if we wanted print. And so they were able to do that. We found our dollars were working a lot bigger and better in Navarre for commercial advertising. So print and commercial works here. So I'll give that one away for free. It's a freebie. But print and commercial television actually works here. We're still in a community. So you have to, number one, know your community. You have to understand its dynamics. And what we're not proper, we're not Gulf Breeze, we're not Pensacola, we're not Milton, we're Navarre. And so that is what makes us different. I would share with you, I think one of the biggest pieces is we talk about removing barriers to success. And so oftentimes it's identifying those barriers and helping the business owner identify those barriers and then set up a plan to remove those barriers.
I'm thinking of those shows where a chef comes in and then reorganizes the restaurant and shows them how to actually like cook correctly and like sanitarily and everything. But you're doing that in terms of local business in
Absolutely.
any, not just cooking, any industry, right?
Absolutely.
Like, especially when it comes to getting the word out, right? So
You have to.
let's look at some evidence of this because I think it'll help people kind of visualize. So I'm going to go through, I got a couple slides on this. So a couple of events that you've done, right? So remember this one?
Actually, I do. And this was a great event. This was an event that was actually put together by the Chamber of Commerce for Navarre. And that's something that's really important, I think, Wes, to just share is, hey, you know, if you're a local business, I often hear, well, I joined a chamber, but the chamber doesn't do anything for me. And that's that's not just Navarre, it's anywhere, right? I've always heard that. And I'm like, you do realize that what you put into the Chamber of Commerce, wherever your commerce may be, that's what you're going to get back. It's your ROI, your return on investment. And so you have to understand that, like, hey, I had budgets, but I came into that chamber and I joined the Navarre Chamber, and my business within, you know, a brand that had been in many years of decline that we acquisitioned in October, within 60 days, this brand was back to brand standard. And then in 90 days, it was in the green. So it's understanding how to leverage and use the resources. The biggest piece is value. Most people forget about that there's something called value, and you have to define your value and what that value is that sets you apart from the business like you that's across the street. And then you've got to create experience around that value, and that's what's going to ultimately build brand loyalty. So, you know, that's the biggest piece here and the biggest key. And I really thrive in that arena, helping businesses identify that. And then absolutely, you know, events, all the PR, you know, the press releases, those things are wonderful. And it's not quick to be dismissive of that by any means, but it is critically important for a business owner, especially a local business owner, to understand, like, you have to tear through excuses. You know, I'm tired of hearing, well, we can't get someone hired. You know, well, we're focusing, and I mean in love, like, we're focusing on high school kids. That's what I keep hearing. I'm like, but you've got to understand, they're focused on their education. So there's a time and a place to hire, you know, a high school student, and I think that they do help us so much in business. But you also have to understand that there are people here that generally do want to work. But you've got to also, you know, market to that. And I think that it's setting your business up for success by not just using, you know, let's say, for example, Indeed. You know, there's other resources there. We have a Chamber of Commerce that if you join that chamber, you can actually post job postings on there. So there's a lot of
there's a lot there. That was a whole lot. So
Sorry.
No, it's great. There's a lot to unpack, though, for the local business owner, because I see that all the time. Is you have a bunch of franchises in Navarre, right? So, and a local business owner with, again, staff of just a handful of people is thinking, okay, what sets me apart? Because some of these other businesses already have their marketing strategy. They already have their brand, you know, their branding kits handed to them, right? And people know the name. So then what's going to set me apart? And that takes some reflection. It also takes some feedback, because not everybody in Navarre is going to agree. Some people are going to argue over it, and not everybody's going to give you the feedback that you need in a way that's easy to understand. They just say, oh, I didn't like it. You know, they don't tell you why. So it takes some work to really dive in and get that feedback and understand the local climate, right?
It does. And here's the thing, Wes. I think that you have to be able to, when there's change and there's growth, that's what we call the stretch. And you have to be able to be malleable, and you also have to, as a business owner, be able to stretch yourself. And Elizabeth Kurz, who's one of our local coaches here, she coaches a lot of CEOs. She's phenomenal. And she will tell you, you know, you have to, it's a mindset, and we talk about a positive mental attitude, and you have to be open to receive that feedback. So one of the things that, you know, we will do at Divergent Spectrum Incorporated is that we give it to you exactly like it is. And oftentimes that's hard to receive, but it's like, look, I'm not going to cut corners with you. You're paying a lot of money. We're not cheap for our services, but when you do that, we're going to give it to you like it is, cut and dry. We don't try to sugarcoat it, because I always want to know where I stand with someone. I think they should know where they stand with me, and the same in business.
And
from 9 to 5,
customers, right?
Because right. Oh, absolutely. 9 to 5, it's business inside those four walls, and it's about service. And we, you know, oftentimes I get, well, it's a beach town, and it's like, there's more than it being just a beach town. You've got to offer a quality service. And so that's important.
I'll give you an example, because I had Robert Reyes from Stripes in here just a few weeks ago. And if you want to talk about someone who understands and has refined his value to the community, Robert Reyes is definitely one of those people, because we talked about it for an hour. As we said, look, because he's got the stripes logo, right? And that's the rank that we wear. So he's speaking to the military community, but he also has the family environment, right? So I separated out my restaurant into two so that I've got the military guys who want to get together and just talk about war stories, but I also want to appeal to everyone else, right? The kids and everything else. So I'm going to have that on my restaurant. And then he does all this work for the community to demonstrate his heart, why he does what he does. And of course, all the events, right?
Thanksgiving. I think of Thanksgiving
Exactly.
and the events that he does.
He's got his value set. He knows what he's broadcasting to the community. But I can think of a lot of other businesses, especially new ones, that are still trying to get there. They may have it, but I don't know if they can articulate it yet, Or maybe they need to make some changes to be able to get there, and that's something that sounds like you can help them with.
Absolutely. I think lastly, to wrap it up, would just say, on that piece would just say, listen, we help someone with their vision. So whatever that vision may be, let us help you with that vision, define that vision, and then let us help connect you to community, because it's about connecting community, and then of course engaging your audience. And that's really important. And I think if you can take those three respective pillars and start there, that's a great way to start, building out that marketing or go-to-market strategy, and then having that MS&P plan. That many of times we used to always say this in brand: we launch and we leave. We launch and we leave. How many times do you see a shampoo come on the on the airwaves, and it's launched, and then 3 months later, 6 months later, it's forgotten about, and there's something new, right? But in business, especially in small business and medium business, you have to launch and then leverage. So that's launch your brand. Your business is a brand, not just a product, right, that you may sell or may not sell. It might be a service. But you launch and you leverage. You leverage the momentum and the excitement. Case in point, First Baptist Church Navarre got a new pastor.
I think I got their event. Hold on.
You have it? Oh,
boom,
look, there we are. I love it, man. You're right on top of it. So First Baptist Church Navarre, they recently got a new pastor, and Pastor Greg Love is phenomenal, and he did a great job. He came in with a lot of momentum. And he took that momentum and he's continued to run with it, and he needs to continue to run with it. He's really stepped up and said, hey, we would really like the opportunity to now open our doors to help support the community and to continue to craft community and connect, most importantly, to the community. So kudos to them for that, Wes. And then lastly here, this is great. This picture was great. This is fun. This was a play. One of the plays I think that I directed, had the privilege of actually getting to direct and produce with Sarah, and Sarah Johnson's amazing and just truly blessed. Everybody there humbles you. Katie Kiger, Katie's there, so it's so good to see her. And actually Jaron, her husband, and he was playing there on stage.
This is, you may realize this, but the way that you talk about the business savvy is almost completely foreign, right, from most of Navarre. I'm sure you've experienced that, especially for military folks and veterans, because we don't deal with that. I mean, maybe a little bit, right? But like we don't have to market, ourselves. We follow orders and instructions. The teamwork part, we get that. But when you talk about refining a brand and competing and being able to articulate that, that's not a huge part of what I've experienced in the military life. There's some, you're trying to leverage for this capability, or you're trying to get this resource. There's a little bit of competition, but in the government world or in the military world, it's not the daily grind. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to stress about tomorrow how many customers am I going to get. I'm going to have the people that work for me. We're going to go and do our mission, right? The world that you're in and what you're advising people, if I'm a veteran setting up a business, maybe the first time I've heard some of that talk, if I don't have an MBA or whatever.
And it's funny because ironically, you're going to laugh, I don't hold a degree. But that being said, something you said brought something to mind, and that is a lot of these businesses that I've had the privilege of getting to work with and speak to, they don't have an SOP. Well, military, that's language. SOP is standard ops procedure. And I found myself in one of the last ventures is that was the biggest part in flipping that business within the first 30 to 60 days. They had no SOPs. They had no leadership and no guidance. And so, to be able to come in at the drop of a hat and bring that was what was so important. But I want to be able to do this and be able to pour it back into Navarre first, right? Because I want to see us thrive. And as, a 2-time now business owner here in Navarre, I can share with you that all the more reasons that we need things like to incorporate because it makes it very difficult for us. I'm not just a resident of Navarre, but it also, Wes, was very difficult. We had a lot of barriers that we were fighting through. And I won't say necessarily with the county. The county actually was really has been great, especially Commissioner Eddington helping and supporting us. He was phenomenal. Dr. Rudman was phenomenal. Our State House of Representatives. He actually frequented our establishment there, so they're just awesome. But I think when we get down to it, we did have some connections, issues with a couple of things because we were coming back as a new LLC. And we were taking over, and the old LLC had been diminished, if you were dissolved, and we were coming in as a brand new LLC. So things like just trying to get our water connected and not turned off was an issue.
Oh,
so
I know.
That was a big one for us. And if we were incorporated, we may not have.
Well,
some
so
of
that's
those
part of
struggles.
it, right? Is that you've mentioned a lot of really positive entities. Obviously, you're talking about your business, your skill set. You mentioned the Chamber of Commerce, some of the local politicians and stuff like that. But you're right. In Navarre, there is no economic development team that's here to help. There, aside from the chamber, but in terms of the county, you're not going to get a whole lot. I've talked to business owners for years. Hey, what help are you getting in terms of starting your business, marketing, all that stuff? Maybe they get a little bit from the chamber, but there's a lot of businesses and only one chamber, right, doing what it can. A lot of what you're offering to people, they're hearing only for the first time. I would love to see some of the tax money that we pay stay here to help
Absolutely.
with these businesses as they try to level some of the playing field and give them a fair chance against all of the outside businesses that are coming in and buying off politicians and all that stuff. So I totally agree with that. One of the things that I did want to ask you about, though, is where is the line? Because I see Tommy Nichols is on here. He's a really good friend of mine. Tommy Nichols and I talk about this a lot with branding and things like that. Where for you does the line between service and business, and by service I mean like sacrifice, where does that go? Because I'm sure as you get into this industry, every business in Navarre and probably all over the Panhandle is going to be looking for marketing help, tips and advice and all that stuff. How do you navigate that demand, right, and also put food on the table for yourself and pay yourself, right? Because some of these businesses, they're going to have to save up some money, I think, to be able to work with you on this, right?
They do. We're not, this type of strategy and the type of the vision, I think it goes back to our 3 pillars, Wes. It goes back to, a vision, a company's vision. They oftentimes lose that focus of their vision. And they think about, connection, and then they think about engagement, right? And when you think about that, that's a lot. And oftentimes what has happened in a recent owner that has stepped in, they're new to Navarre, they own a business out in another state, and hey, everything's working great out in our other state, it's not working in Navarre. So, right, you got to know your audience, you got to know your area. Plus, their business is like 3 businesses behind another off of the main drag of 98, and I'm like, well, you're hidden number 1, and they don't like that. But it's like, hey, you're asking me, you're paying for the service, I'm going to give it to you straight, versus somebody that would come in here and sugarcoat it, right? I'm going to give it to you, and then we say, hey, here's your go-to-market strategy for the next 6 months. So here's our fee for 6 months. To design your strategy, we typically ask for 30 days, but some of these businesses, they don't have 30 days, Wes. So instead what we do is we ask for, a 14-day max turnaround time in getting them what they need.
Interesting.
And this particular business, now when we do that, once we focus and we commit and we've taken on, then, if we've taken on, say, 5 projects, those 5 projects, those are first. And, anything else, we have to turn that business away, unfortunately, or we have to ask, hey, is this something that, you're looking to do very quickly? Is it something that you can wait till, another 6 weeks? So we really have to kind of categorize it as it comes in, if I'm making sense with that. So
yeah, you definitely are. Yeah, it's that best because you want to, what I'm grateful for is that it looks like you're going to be here for the long term, and
I hope
your
so.
skill set and all that stuff, because you've chosen to set this up, and we want to keep you employed in doing that, right?
Absolutely.
And that's where it comes. So it's really making that argument of why should a local business take the chance to work with you as opposed to doing this stuff themselves, right?
Absolutely.
Why should they pay the fees for that? Because you're going to bring that experience and lead
and time
to success. Yes.
You know, most of them don't have the time. They're like, I don't have time for that. I'm doing all the extra. I mean, when I think about my last venture,
That's a good point.
I was doing it all, and they'll be quick, you know, to step up and say that. And I'm like, you can do it all, but you can't. And your marketing, your engagement, marketing's number one. And what a lot of people don't realize, Wes, is that over, you know, almost half, I always heard 30%. And I'm like, whoever came up with that, go back to college, because it's not 30%. You need to be having at least almost half of your, you know, capital that's coming in that you've allotted, especially if you're not established. Like, you know, you're trying to get established. You've got to have, you know, it close to 50% of that money set aside to be able to put out. I have owners come in, they're like, they're asking for donations. I'm like, you realize, like, part of that, it's not a donation. It's like, hey, I'm giving off to anybody that's a chamber member. They get a percentage off when they come in. They get a value. You know, one of our services is $1,500. I give them it for them. $1,250 is what we'll give it to them for, because they're chamber members. If they're not a chamber member, that's one of the first steps in the process. You've got to join the Chamber of Commerce, because look at what all the events are that the Chamber does for us. Look at how connected we are with Preserve Navarre.
Sure.
And look at how we all work together hand in hand. That's how you're going to elevate your business. So, you know, that's really important. But we're honesty and integrity, and I believe in that.
Yeah, I love, because what you're doing is you're bringing it back to relationships.
Always.
And connection. Yeah, let me show you some examples of that, because I think I got. So first of all, that spread. I hate that I was at work. Like, I really wanted to go so bad.
I asked where you were.
I was at work.
Everyone knows at home. I asked where Wes was.
Like, I wanted to go already, but like now you're just rubbing it in. Like, that would have been great. I think I had like freaking Arby's or something like that night.
Man, I
like
could have made you a plate. You know, Heather and Chuck was there, so shame on Heather and Chuck, because they could have made you a plate.
I wish I could have, but no. So like, there's Carmen, great folks. Seriously, doing your thing
awesome.
weekend. The Crumblies were there, the Chamber was there, like, you know. But connecting people, that's been a huge part of it too. Is not everybody knows everything, right? I'm sure, you know, because you mentioned the degree thing. I would, you know, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of the lessons just come through life, right? You go from the karate kid to being an expert marketer, but have all these other skills. I learn something from every person that I talk to. And
you learn something new every day.
Yeah, and I don't learn everything that they have. I just learn a little piece, and then I'm like, hey, that's a friend. And then, hey, let's connect you to somebody else who's got similar interest, and see what we can kind of like do as we arrange this puzzle, so that, you know, good people can do good things, right? So that's a huge part of this, but I think I've got.
I love Carmen. That was a good picture of Carmen,
I think
too.
I got one more on here. Yeah, then there's an event right here. So
yeah, and Brenda Kay, I see her in there. Listen, I'm going to share with you, right? Anybody listening, this woman helped saved my last venture. They're just the express professionals. They're dynamic. They really know their stuff. And again, Brenda Kay is someone she's involved in the community. You see her almost at every event. And that's what it's about. You've got to be in the community. You've got to be connecting. You've got to always be like handing out those cards, or, you know, having conversation. And I love this. She's a beautiful person, and she's beautiful inside and out, and she has a great way of helping to craft community.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that really is. I mean, you have to explain this to me, because is this like the wheel, or is this like the center, the core? Because I was going to go with that for a metaphor, because it's kind of it's what's behind the curtain that's going to power these businesses to be able to do so many cool things.
It is. So, you know, when I was designing this logo, it was really cool, because I'd been in a lot of prayer, and then I was like, you know, how am I going to take something and, you know, design something that's a logo that's not, you know, has any kind of other alternative meaning. You know, a lot of logos out there have alternative meanings that we don't know. You know, there's a hidden meaning. And I said, you know, this is something I just wanted to show that it's really, there's 3 rings. You see the dashed ring. And so I kind of think as the dash ring is kind of like, you know, you have, you know, your inner man, you have like your spirit and your soul, right? And so I kind of see that as like, hey, one is like, you know, the inner you, the inner business, the solid ring on the inside, you know, that's your vision, and then it extends from there to the next ring, which is going to be, you know, your connection, you're connecting, and then of course the last ring, which is really engagement. So of course, as you know, we do events, and I come from Hollywood, so in Hollywood, yes, we do fabulous, flawless, lavish events, and sometimes we don't always have a big, super strong budget, Wes, but we have budgets. So when I've been asked here to do events, they all want them to be fabulous red carpet events, and that's great. But also, there's something called budget, and like if you don't have the budget, we have to work as best we can off the budget. But we do take those dollars and really try to allocate those dollars to, the beauty is in the details, and a lot of businesses miss that. It really is the details. So I'm excited. We have a project coming up for conservation that we're doing, and I'm super stoked because the conservation is going to show itself, and it's going to be, the detail is going to be in the environment that we've created for this VIP event. So we're excited about that. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit more about the logo. So my thing is, I never fit in one box. My mother always said there was an art to losing yourself, and of course, I say, and finding your place. And so, that's why I truly am divergent. If you look at the definition, of divergent, I'm that, and I've been told that. So, it's funny, family ties to Hollywood, and there you go. And I said, wow, they could have written this story about me.
So I have two things. Two things in closing. One, totally from Plato. So, just so you happened upon ideas that are like the smartest minds in the history of humanity, wow. Like the 3-part man, like
I love it.
Totally from like ancient Greek and antiquity. So
how cool is that?
Very, very savvy that you hit upon that. I love that. Secondly, the power of Hollywood empowering local business in Navarre.
It's true.
I'm just getting my head around that. The power of Hollywood empowering local businesses in Navarre, because what I see in Navarre, yes, you have some incredible, the Andy D's, and you've got Stripes, and you've got a handful of others that are making it, but I really see local businesses struggling even with all the people that are here, because they're getting suffocated out by where Navarre is headed, and all the growth and everything else, and all the franchises coming in.
46,000?
Yeah, there's 43. At least 43,000 people based on the last census. Very little abilities from the county to help the local businesses, especially with so many and such a small staff up there. And so a lot of these local businesses just purely on their own, and then they have like a godsend come in, and you saying, hey, listen, this is how we're going to do, and I've worked in Hollywood and all this stuff. I know how to do this, and I'm here to help you.
Which doesn't make me anybody, and people often think that, well, you've been in Hollywood.
But you demonstrated that experience here of why that's useful. Yeah, just because you come from there, whatever.
And global corporate, and I'm like, guys, look,
but having that,
corporate,
but having that ability to get them from point A to point B, and the heart to do it, because a lot of people, I would think, coming from there can be that probably condescending. They're like, oh, you don't know how to do this, but you have the heart for locals, and you understand, what's going on, and I think you understand what locals want, right?
It's about our future, Wes, our children of tomorrow. Like, what are we doing if we're not building something for them?
Right, exactly. It's like we could have the nicest thing in the world in Navarre, but if it doesn't honor these people, right? If we leave this behind, then it's useless. Then it really is just transforming or changing Navarre. I have the same heart for holding on to things, and that's why, like, something as simple,
like our Bob,
something as simple as what they did for him right there, right? Like something like, it's classy, it's beautiful, and that meant more to me than if someone who didn't know him had come along and spent $1 million. I would take that any day of the week, right? Because
he was a dynamic man.
Yeah, but how they set it up and how they honored him, right? And it was an event, if you will. But that's what I would encourage you as you go through and you're helping this local business, and you've got it, man. But holding on to what's precious, because there is something precious about the everyday person, or as Tommy would say,
we
the blue
can't
collar
lose
voice.
that. Like, we can't lose. That's what I'm talking about. We can't lose that kind of focus. What Robert did was amazing, and to see how greatly he not only impacted all of our lives in the lives of others in our community and within our community of faith, but look at how greatly he impacted David and Aaron's life, and what David built this, and Aaron was sharing with me, and I was just so blessed and moved by that. Yeah, me too. I'll share this with you too. Is I had a job offer around the same time that I think that you came during the COVID era in 2020 to go up to DC and go work in like some fancy office or whatever, and be in charge of all these budgets or whatever. Right. And I said no, Chaz. I said no because I love Navarre, and part of the reason that I fight so hard for this community is because I love it so much.
when I see it's money like leaving and I see us taking advantage of, I do fight for that. I fight, and I was like, hey, people, we need to stand up and stop this from happening, right? We need to fight for our money. We need to fight for our culture. We need to slow down growth so that we don't forget who we are in the process. I fight for those things because I love Navarre. I loved it enough to say, hey, yeah, I could work at the upper echelons, right? Like you've experienced, I've experienced, but I'd rather work here for a community that I know and love so that when I lose people, and we always do, I can have events like that where we sit around and they're special and they're precious, right? So I can have those memories, those relationships, right? I'd much rather slow down my life, not live in the fast lane so that I can focus on what truly matters in life.
That's why we choose Navarre.
Yeah,
we choose Navarre.
100%. Thank you for being here so much. Let me go through these comments real quick. So Tommy was on here. He said he give you some feedback here for you as well, since you're in the business of dishing it out. He said, I've learned quite a bit from this little bit so far. So Tom, I don't know if you know him, but Tommy, he does an enormous amount of work in the county. He works doing videos. He does all kinds of interviews. He's always talking to local folks running for office. He's the first person to jump in there, and he always gives people a fair shake. So he's a great dude. He's been on this show as well. So good to see you, Tommy. Thanks for being there. Chuck was watching, so he said you're awesome. I know you know Chuck. Next time he's going to get me some of that food. He's going to give me a plate.
Right.
I already posted the comment from Nancy. She was on here. Had a couple of people talking about how Robert was a great man and will be missed for sure.
He will.
Awesome. I think that about wraps it up. Well, great. Nice. Hey, so whatever we can do for you guys, but definitely get in touch with Chaz. What's the best way to do that? Are you on Facebook, website?
So we are on Facebook, Instagram, and actually YouTube. Our YouTube channel's just been created, right? Awesome. So it's really cool. We haven't quite uploaded to that yet or done anything live. And then most importantly, divergentspectrum.com. Or you can reach us at, which is also on our website, 424-877-0601. Again, that's 424-877-0601. divergentspectrum.com.
There you go, man. So reach out to Chaz. Definitely subscribe to our channel as well. We can always direct you to Chaz and to his business if you're interested. Let us know what guests you want to have on our show. We love doing this. We love supporting incredible people like yourself. So best of luck to you.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll be seeing you soon.
We love supporting you.
All right. Y'all have a great night. Bye.
Bye.